it's Pre-EO. I had a friend send me this article today. Although it's from 2005, I still think it's important to get it out there. This is from Corp Watch, Holding Corporations Accountable. It was written by Melanie Warner from New York Times, April 6, 2005, and it's titled U.S. Cinnamix Fake Flavors. Several big food and beverage companies are looking at new ingredients in the battle for health-conscious consumers. A chemical that tricks the taste buds into sensing sugar or salt even when it's not there. Kraft Foods, Nestle, Coca-Cola, and Campbell Soup are all working with a biotechnology company called Cinnamix, which has developed several chemicals, most of which do not have any flavor of their own, but instead work by activating or blocking receptors in the mouth that are responsible for taste. They can enhance or replicate the taste of sugar, salt, monosodium glutamate, or MSG, in foods. By adding one of Cinnamix's flavors to their products, manufacturers can, for instance, reduce the sugar in a cookie or salt in a can of soup by 1/3 to 1/2 while retaining the same sweetness or saltiness. Now, for instance, a 10 3/4 ounce can of Campbell's home-style chicken soup, which the company says contains 2.5 servings, has more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium. That'd probably be cut to a little over 1,500 milligrams when the chemical is added. The government recommends consumption of no more than 2,400 milligrams of sodium a day. Unlike artificial sweeteners, Cinnamix's chemical compounds will not be listed separately on ingredient labels. Instead, they will be lumped into a broad category called artificial flavors, which are already found on most packaged food labels. We're helping companies clean up their labels, said Cinnamix's chief executive, Kent Snyder. Cinnamix, based out of San Diego, uses many of the same research techniques that biotechnology companies apply in devising new drugs. Executives say that a taste receptor or family of receptors on the tongue or in the mouth are responsible for recognizing a taste. Using the human genome sequence, the company says it has identified hundreds of those taste receptors. Its chemical compounds activate the receptors in a way that accentuates the taste of sugar or salt. It is still experimenting to determine the most potent compounds, its chief scientist, Mark Zuller, said. While food safety experts applaud efforts to reduce salt, MSG, and sugar, they express concerns about the new chemicals, saying that the more testing is needed to be done before these were sold in food. But Cinnamix maintains that its new products are safe because they will be used in tiny quantities. So it's safe because they give you just a little bit, right? Kraft, Nestle, Coca-Cola, and Campbell Soup have contracted with Cinnamix for exclusive rights to use the ingredients in certain types of food and beverages, although the companies declined to identify those categories. Elise Wang, an analyst of Smith Barney, said that Kraft was planning to use Cinnamix's sweet flavoring to reduce the sugar in powdered beverages like Kool-Aid by 1/3. Campbell Soup said she's looking at cutting sodium levels by 1/3 with the salt flavoring. There's applicability for our soups, sauces, and drinks like V8, a spokesman for Campbell, John Faulkner, said. A Kraft spokesman declined to offer specifics on the company's relationship with Cinnamix, but said that Kraft was committed to reducing the sugar and salt levels in many products. Nestle and Coke also declined to comment. Cinnamix's salt enhancer in particular has potential to be a boon in the food industry. For years, corporate scientists have been looking in vain for ways to reduce sodium levels in packaged food without losing flavor. It's a real challenge, said Christy M. Holmesy, senior research food scientist at Food Perspective, a consulting firm in Plymouth, Minnesota. Nobody's come up with anything even close to ideal. The Center for Science and the Public Interest, an advocacy group based in Washington, is seeking to get the Food and Drug Administration to pay more attention to the high sodium levels in packaged foods. In February, and it's probably 2005, it filed a lawsuit seeking to enforce the FDA to regulate salt as a food additive. The effort, if successful, can spur companies to limit salt in their products. Mr. Snyder said that the Cinnamix's salt enhancers are still in the development phase and would not appear in foods for at least 2 years, probably up to 2007. The company's most advanced product, he said, is its enhancement for MSG, which last month received safety approval from the Flavor and Extract Manufacturers Association. He expects food items of this product to appear in supermarkets sometime in the first half of next year, which would be 2006. A little side note here, my sister-in-law pulled out a pack of chips a few weeks back that used to have MSG, and they no longer had it, which is why she felt it was okay to eat it, and mentioned a soda. I don't remember which product it was, if it was, I want to say it was Sprite, but it no longer had high fructose corn syrup, or you can opt out of having it at that point, but it kind of makes me think that they're using these in those products too. Anyway, while doctors and consumers have recognized the dangers of too much salt and sugar, MSG is not well understood as a potentially harmful food additive. Used as a flavor enhancer, it is found in flavored chips, sauces, dry soups, and meat products. According to Sarah Risch, a food scientist and professor at Michigan State University, food companies are eager to find replacements for MSG because some people are allergic to too high levels of it. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Allergic to high levels of it. And she put, quote, "There's a negative consumer perception held by some people regarding MSG." This is said per Mr. Snyder, who came out of retirement in 2003 to become Cinemex's chief executive. Some school districts, for instance, won't sell MSG-containing snacks. Good for them. In the 1970s, after it was shown to induce brain lesions and nervous system disorders in laboratory animals, baby food manufacturers removed it from their products. Mr. Zoller, the company's chief scientist, said that the replacement for MSG could also be used in place of common flavor enhancers like hydrolyzed vegetable protein and autolyzed yeast extract. These products have been closely linked to MSG because they contain high levels of glutamic acid, the main component of MSG. Since Cinemex's flavor compounds will be used in small proportions, less than 1 part per million, the company is able to bypass the lengthy FDA process required to get food additives on the market. Getting the Flavor and Extract Manufacturers Association status of generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, took Cinemex less than 18 months, including a 3-month safety study using rats. In contrast, the maker of the artificial sweetener sucralose, spent 11 years winning FDA approval and is required to list the ingredient on food labels. Michael Jacobson, executive director of the Center for Science and the Public Interest, endorsed Cinemex's ability to reduce salt, sugar, and MSG, but cautioned against a new chemical entering the food supply without rigorous testing. A 3-month study is completely inadequate, he said. What you want is at least a 2-year study on several species of animals. Cinemex responded that in contrast to artificial sweeteners, which are used at levels of 200 to 500 parts per million, its flavorings would be added in such small quantities that they would pose no safety risk. These low use levels are also what allows Cinemex's chemicals to be classified as artificial flavors. According to the filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, Kraft Foods, Nestle, Coca-Cola, and Campbell's Soup have collectively paid Cinemex $30 million to finance research and development. When the flavorings are incorporated into food, Cinemex has said it will collect royalties of 1% to 4% on product sales. Although the company is several years away from turning a profit, its stock price has nearly doubled since it went public last June, probably 2005, closing at $11.91. Last fiscal year, Cinemex lost $19.7 million in research revenue of $8.3 million. Ms. Wing of Smith Barney has projected that the royalties from food product sales will be $50 million in 2008. Okay, I realize this is back from 2005, and we have 11 years since this report, or 6 years since this report came out, but I see some things that concern me. They won't stop messing with our food. It just goes to show that you need to make your own and not buy any kind of processed foods whatsoever. That goes on to reading labels. Back in 2010, they came out with an issue where if you study labels and you're health conscious, they have a new mental disorder label for that as well. I'll go ahead and attach that to it, but one of the news sources that I found at almostnaturalnews.com, and he wrote back in June of 2010, choosing a healthy food is now called a mental disorder. And he went on to write, I'm just going to read just a little bit, "It's never-ending attempt to fabricate mental disorders out of every human activity, the psychiatric industry, or Big Pharma, is now pushing the most ridiculous disease they've invented yet, healthy eating disorder. This is no joke. If you choose on eating healthy foods, you're mentally diseased and probably need some sort of chemical treatment involving powerful psychotropic drugs. The Guardian newspaper reports fixation with healthy eating can be a sign of serious psychological disorder. It goes on to claim that this disease is called orthorexia nervosa, which is basically just Latin for nervous about correct eating, but they can't just call it nervous healthy eating disorder because that doesn't sound like they know what they're talking about. So they translate it into Latin where it sounds smart, even though it isn't. That's just where most disease names come from. Doctors just describe the symptoms. They see with a name like osteoporosis, which means bones with holes in it, etc. Anyway, I am going to put this on there, and I think there was another one that came out around the same time. Can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but you guys just keep doing your research, look into it. Don't just trust one person, one source. Do your research, guys. Take care and God bless.